for it now.
We are live. Happy Friday and welcome to Disruptors Live. If you missed last week, you should definitely go back and check that out. But if you're here now, we're super excited to have you. And we have Sean McAllister and Dayna Roselli here. They are the owners of Insightful Media in Las Vegas. They're also the hosts of the Vegas Revealed podcast. And both Sean and Dayna left their TV broadcasting jobs, which is how Dayna and I met, to start their own media company in 2020. I'm so happy you're both here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And you guys really got up early. We all got up early, minus Andy. So thank you. I know Sean was filling us in. You guys got to have some fun last night. Have a nice dinner.
We did. We hosted a dinner over at the Palms, and it was fun. We were able to invite some friends and do that. And then usually you think it's going to take an hour and a half, but by the time you're done talking and eating and pictures and this and that, all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock.
Oh my God. And I feel like for Vegas standards, that's probably not even that late, but normal people standards, kind of late.
But it's late when you know your alarm is going to be going off early the next morning.
It's true.
And I mean, you guys are familiar with the early alarms. I know. So little background is Dayna and I met when we worked at a TV station in Vegas. And we're just talking about, I produced the 4:30 a.m. newscast. So I don't know if I got up late or early. But Dayna, you got up early forever. It was just part of your life.
It was, but you know what I mean? It became a part of a routine that to me, I didn't really know any different. And now being away from it, I'm like, wow, what a difference in my, just like the way that I feel every day. Really, you don't realize what a wear it takes on you,
Totally. And Sean, did you have some crazy hours you had to deal with too? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I did. When I moved out here, in 2005, I was the overnight producer at the local Fox affiliate. So I was full on overnights, went in at 10 o'clock at night, was there until whenever I left the next morning after the shows were all wrapped up. So yeah, for several years. And then back in Rochester, I did the same thing. I came from Rochester, New York, and I was producing the morning news there. So I was very familiar with overnights for a good portion of the beginning of my career.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel your pain. So
yeah,
it
was different.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was totally different. And we'll get to more on, how to maintain that work-life balance now, because I think it's really great how you guys have really shifted that. But first, give us a little background, because Andy and I think what you guys have done with your podcast, for starters, is incredible. I know you were saying it's in the top 1.5% of over almost 3 million podcasts globally. That's insane. So give us the background. How did this podcast get started?
Sean, you go.
So this is the podcast Vegas Revealed was something that Dayna and I had talked about for years, even before the idea of starting a business together. We had talked about, after we were done doing news, that we would get together and start a podcast. So the end of 2019 was the time when both of us were looking at new contracts at our respective TV stations and deciding that was the time to step away. So we're like, all right, here's the chance. Let's pull the plug. Let's start the podcast. We launched in January of 2020, which, was a very ominous time. Little did we know.
Right.
But having a new Las Vegas based podcast and Las Vegas focused podcast during that whole time when nobody from around the world could come here ended up being a blessing for us, because we had listeners from all over the world who would reach out to us and thank us and say, oh my gosh, Las Vegas is my favorite city. And I'm locked down here in Germany, in London, in France. We had people from all over telling us that we were their Vegas fix while they were locked down at home.
That's so cool. I mean, because obviously we were all just like, super bored, didn't know what to
Mhm.
do. And
Mhm.
I mean, Vegas was shut down too. There wasn't really anything fun going on there at the time, right?
No, it was unique. It was unique because it was shut down because, I mean, obviously no city across America had really ever been completely shut down before, very rare. But when you think about the entertainment capital of the world and the Las Vegas Strip, like that was really rare. So it became, people taking walks on the strip because it was the first time they had ever seen anything all shut down like that. So there were unique things happening in that way, where people were exploring and sharing pictures and going live on their phones on the strip and stuff like that. But there was nothing to do as far as, restaurants were closed, shows were closed, businesses were closed, just like everywhere for a few weeks.
Totally. And then I don't know if you guys know, but Andy kind of also had similar timing with his podcast network that he launched. Was that right before the pandemic too?
It was midway, about August of 2020. We developed a social venture project to bring startup podcasts to life with all those people that were stuck at home that didn't otherwise have a platform. So for 2 years, we launched about 35, 40 podcasts for students and journalists and academics and all kinds of cool storytellers, and very unique experience. You guys have a very cool story between your pedigree in the broadcast industry and your subject matter of Las Vegas. I heard thousands and thousands of pitches for people that wanted to start podcasts, and obviously between 2018 and 2021 it ballooned. It went from about 500,000 podcasts to over 2 million, and then a lot of them went dormant. But the fact that you guys have been able to grow and sustain this thing so gigantic, you can't be the only podcast about Las Vegas. What is the secret sauce?
I think personally that we do it weekly and keep up with it because we've looked at other podcasts, just to see what else was out there. If at the beginning, if we needed to make anything different, and we noticed they were like spotty, like someone would do one month and then maybe the next month and then maybe twice the next month. There was no like consistently, but we've done weekly podcasts consistently. We maybe took like one off for a holiday. Every single week we drop it at the same time. I think that is huge, A. And then B, I think we're completely different in that we have the broadcasting background. So we're very clear. We have a plan going in. We don't, and Abby, in the world, it would be like a rundown, not necessarily scripts. We have a rundown and not scripts, what we're going to talk about and like, oh yeah, let's hit this, let's hit that. Only basically to make sure that we keep it, nice and crisp and within a 30-minute window. But we mostly ad lib, but we have a formula where we start with, everything coming up on the show, which, Abby is like an open of everything coming up. So we kind of do what you can get. And then we start the podcast and we go through it all. And I think I don't want to say we're a little bit more organized, but we're a little bit more maybe thorough and not that we're not having a casual conversation. We are, but it's also a little bit more structured. Do you know, it's not just two people like, hey, yeah, I went there today. And, that was cool. And what did you think? And it's just kind of a little slow. I think we keep ours moving.
Yeah. There are a lot of other Vegas focused podcasts that are hosted by visitors, and they document their trip and talk about, the slots that they played, the restaurants they ate at, which is great. I mean, there's obviously an audience for that because these are other successful Vegas podcasts. But I think that the news side of it is really what injects a little bit of a difference into Vegas Revealed compared to others that do focus on individuals' vacation experiences and sports betting. That's the other Vegas topic that is really big. So we don't really go into either of those genres. We're kind of a genre of our own, and we're kind of surprised that we said it a million times. We're surprised that nobody else is doing this.
Yeah.
So We did it.
Right. And now you get to keep doing it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So what
I
has
mean,
it been like? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we talk a lot of entertainment, but we also, like Sean said, it kind of inject a little bit of news background in that. When we talk about development on the strip, yes, there's going to be a new hotel casino, and yes, it's going to have fabulous restaurants and shows, but there's also a news side of it to, when it comes to Las Vegas, that it's part of development. When is it going to open? What's it going to be like? What's going to make it different? How much money are they sinking into this? What do they think is going to make it really tick? So, I mean, we have entertainment discussions and lifestyle discussions about Las Vegas, but I think there's a slightly little bit of we're stickler for trying to get the facts right.
Right. Which I feel like some people, oh, sorry, Andy, just real quick.
No, go
Some
ahead.
people, like you were saying, their podcast, they just are like, okay, let's turn on the mics. Even big celebrities that have podcasts, you're like, did you guys prepare for this at all?
Yeah.
I've just listened to you like breathing into the mic for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and I would think too, like also having you guys so connected in the community makes it super unique because you are getting a lot of information that regular people might not get, or tourists.
True.
Very true. And that's the benefit of each being in Las Vegas for almost 20 years. We have a catalog of contacts and experiences and perspective that some other people don't. So that's another tick in our column.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, sorry, go ahead.
No, Andy, go ahead. With your
Actually, Dayna kind of answered my question about programming and what it's like to be independent. But one of the questions I have for you guys is about working together, because obviously Abby and I both have podcasts. We have this live stream that we started doing together. We own a business together. But even getting together at 9:00 Mountain Standard Time on Fridays, last week I was in Chicago and she was in Denver. This week she's in San Diego and I'm in Boston. The week before that I was in Denver and she was in Israel. I guess we just travel a lot, but even getting together, we only have to interview people and we get cool guests like you, but you guys are writing and programming content that you obviously don't have to. Has it been nice doing this? When you started the podcast, did you think that it was going to be a several year endeavor and you were going to have to continue researching and writing news? It seems like you kind of quit to get away from that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think go ahead.
Go ahead, Dayna. You take this.
All right. I was just going to say it's now we do what we want to do. So we never really, I think Sean and I left the news business. For now, I always say, I never say never, that I would never go back if the opportunity was right. And I felt like the industry was going in another direction, but we left TV news for now to do it on our own. It's not that we didn't like what we were doing. We didn't like how we were managed to do it. And I think that's the difference. Yeah, the environment. So we still have a passion for that, big time. We're actually correspondents on a show that the LVCVA puts out, and it's a wonderful show, but it is hard because you're just the talent on that. And both of us are like, we want to get our hands in it. We want to write the scripts. We want to organize it better. We want to, so there is that drive and that passion to do that stuff still. And with the podcast, we get to do it our way, and it is fun. And we get great guests. And, when you used to be able to have someone in the studio for 3 minutes or interview someone in the field for, 5 minutes and cut it down to 30 seconds. Now we can have, a guest on and talk for 10 minutes and cut the best parts that we love and actually have a conversation. And so that part's been fun for us.
And to kind of go back to the other branch of your question, Andy, I don't think that we knew that the podcast would grow to what it has grown and would be the commitment that it's grown into. I mean, when we started it, we were like, all right, let's do this podcast, see where it goes. But now we feel an obligation to the audience to keep going and to deliver new episodes, new fresh content on time every, Saturday morning at 12:01. The new episode drops, and that's it. We feel like we have a duty to keep doing that, aside from all the other business stuff that we're involved with.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue. And I'm sorry to interrupt, Dana. I know you've got something great. But when you guys get around to it, would you tell us about what a day in the life is like and what you do in the rest of your business?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is okay, so a day in the life is different every day, which is kind of fun. But we do a lot of video projects. So we will have a shoot and it will be a big shoot. Maybe it's an all day thing. And that will be a shoot day. And then after that, we've got a bunch of days where now we've got to edit that. And so we're in-house. And when I say in-house, Sean has, we have an office at Sean's home dedicated just to our company, which is great. And so we work over there together in the same room. Or sometimes, if we can get things started separately, we will, or if he's going to work on one thing and I'm going to work on another thing. So we do that. And then, and then in the midst of that, it might be, hey, we have to MC something, that night or so whatever, like, okay, let's take a little break and go over what we're going to do tonight. And so I feel like everything's different. And then with the podcast, sometimes we have evening events because we get invited to media openings or restaurants or attraction openings. And we kind of look at the calendar and we're like, this is what we can fit in this week. We don't put too much on our plate. We pick and choose. So it kind of depends, but usually we kind of get up, get into emails, do some kind of maintenance work that we need to do, answer those emails, send off some invoices, do that kind of thing. And then we sort of get together, around, I'm not going to lie, like 10:30 a.m., which is really nice. So I'll go over to Sean's. And then usually if we have a shoot, we even I'll drive to his. And then a lot of times when we have shoots, Sean will come and pick me up. So we even share the driving. And so, I mean, we are really good at that. And we're usually done by 4:30 every single day.
Oh, so nothing like those TV hours that any of us had to put up with. How nice.
Yeah.
Your real life influencers off the gram.
Yeah. We really are. We definitely just we kind of have a really good relationship where I know what I need to do. He knows what he needs to do. And then we come together for the things that we need to do together. So we just get it done. And, it's been interesting learning how to run a business because we have all that, it's just us. So we're the administrative too. We're the human resources. We're every department all in one. I think actually COVID really gave us an opportunity. I hate to there was a positive, and that was learning how to run the business. Yeah. All the things we needed to apply for online, starting websites and having the time to do it, learning how to fill out an invoice and keep track of things and, not jumping right in with everything right at once where we were running around doing all these projects, but then also needed to learn how to run the business. So for us, I feel like COVID was that moment of learning how to run the business and taking on some projects. Then we were ready to go when things got back to normal and really hit the ground running.
And what would you guys say is the most surprising thing you found in starting your business that was just totally something you couldn't have prepared for? Just a tough question.
Well, I mean, I feel like for us, I don't know if it was a surprising, but something that I never thought about was, we did things for, I don't want to say for free. They were part of our jobs, to MC a luncheon or MC an event, or somebody asked you to do something and volunteer time. But now it's part of our business. And I think the biggest surprise for me has been figuring out what to charge people and having the internal feeling of I have to tell them that they have to pay for that now. You know what I mean? But that's our livelihood. So for me, that was a difficult transition because I'm well, I'm used to, but I have to say, well, this is, we have to charge for that. And they're oh, we understand. And everyone's understanding of that. But that was a big learning curve for me, or I don't even, it was just an internal kind of thing for me that I felt guilty.
Yeah. And I think there was the same situation for me. And I think that it kind of stems from almost 2 decades in kind of a corporate, TV environment where your value is dictated to you by your managers. You are worth X amount and not a penny more. And don't even try and negotiate with us because there's not going to be anything. And if you don't like this, there's going to be somebody else who will take your job for less. So it's almost like a a release, a freedom of being able to really know your true value as a professional and taking a look at each of the skills that you've acquired over the first half of a career and see how those each can be monetized to the benefit of another person, company, or brand or organization. So I think that was a really difficult thing for both of us to not lowball the skills and the value of the skills that each of us has.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it can be, hard sometimes to figure out even pricing for your business. You're like, maybe this is something new where, obviously we're all unique in what we can offer. So, I always like to ask questions like that because I think it's important. We'll have other business owners watching and they're like, wait, someone else thinks the way that I do. Sometimes in business, I think we all think, oh, I'm the only one. Like I'm the only one that isn't sure what to charge, or the only one that has this struggle, or is the only one that maybe has zero in their bank account right now, or $1 million in your bank account. So, I think it's important to just like remind ourselves, hey, there are other people that probably are going through the same things that you are in business, because it is not an easy road for anyone. I think we can all
It's
agree.
not. And then I also think you need to figure out what makes you different. And I think that takes a little bit of time, right? Which is hard because you're like jumping in. And Sean and I have really realized that what makes us different when it comes to the video projects that we do is that we storytell. And there have been people who have said, like, we really love that you guys, interview, say we do a profile on a family for a nonprofit or something. You interview them and you bring emotion out, where a lot of times we've had a crew show up, they ask a couple questions and they're there to make sure it's lit right and look good. But you guys are doing both. It looks good. And you're also getting some really good interviews. And then when you lay it out, gosh, it's such a great, story. So we keep getting more and more referrals in that world where like, oh, we used Insightful Media and it's really great. And so now we're doing this and we're doing that. And, we're doing a lot of these different things. We just did something for the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation for their gala. And we just did a profile on a family for the Ronald McDonald House Charities. And we did a great mini documentary on a church. And we've done community stories for the Raiders. They ask us to go out when the Raiders are in the community. If they need an extra crew, we kind of freelance with them. And they're like, wow, this was really good. It really told a great story. So we feel like now, like we get it. Like that's our kind of our thing. That's where we really shine. It makes us different than just a video crew.
Totally. Because I think anyone could come out and shoot something, but you're right. It's about telling the story. I mean, that's kind of why we do what we do. It's helping people create online courses that are compelling and have a story and can show your personality, because no one wants to watch something that has no story. That's just boring. Yeah. We all know that.
Exactly. And our podcast really complements a business, because when we go out and do all these things, that have to do with the podcast and we're out there and our faces out there, I feel like a lot of businesses, they go, well, where are we going to go to network? Well, it's kind of programmed in our life because we're at these events networking and people are like, I didn't know you guys MC events. I didn't know you guys media train. Oh, wow. You guys do sizzle videos. We could, and then you'll hear from them in like a month. Hey, remember when we met, we were talking about you. So it's been really great. We even say sometimes the podcast is a little bit of a marketing tool for us.
Right. I mean, I think that's so much about my podcast outside of this. You can send someone an episode and say, hey, you had questions about this thing. Here's an episode. So, I wanted to ask you too, just back to the podcast, for someone who's thinking of starting a podcast, would you guys have advice of kind of like how they choose a good, compelling topic or anything like that? Or stay consistent with it?
I think it's really tapping into something that you're passionate about. That's really what it boils down to, because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to keep up the consistency. And fortunately, Dayna and I are both passionate about Las Vegas, about living here, about Las Vegas as a destination, about Las Vegas as, a place to live off of the Strip and everything that, the city and the surrounding areas has to offer. So it really boils down to, whether your passion is whittling, there are going to be other whittlers out there who will tune in and listen, and maybe just people who are curious about this passionate whittler,
I love it.
I
Very
think
niche.
that it's
Someone should
really
start
just
that.
tapping into something that is going to keep that drive going.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely. I mean, it's an interesting world. And we always say, like, what we learned about, even when we were thinking, like, could we get some sponsors and stuff, even looking into it, it's like, there are so many good points out there about, like, when you have a podcast and it's about something, you're guaranteed that the people listening to it are interested in that. Like, it's not like, oh, I need to pull in people that are interested in Vegas. If they're listening, they've got to be interested in Vegas, because why would they click on it? Right. So it's like you already have, like, this target audience of people. And like Sean was saying, I was reading an example, and it was like, if you have a podcast about cats, you're going to have cat lovers or people who own cats listening to your podcast, nobody else. Because why would a random person that is a dog lover, hates cats, and doesn't own pets, listen to the cat podcast? They probably wouldn't. So you already have, and so it's funny because when you're feeding this stuff, you already know the people listening are going to be interested in it. Something else we discovered doing the podcast is we used to do a lot of interviews at the beginning, but then we realized people didn't love the interviews as much as us bantering, talking, discussing, providing information about several different topics, because the interview might be with a person, and after a while, you're not like veering off of Vegas, but you're talking about other things, and maybe it just doesn't interest someone, or if that guest doesn't interest someone, they're going to turn off. But if Sean and I are consistently talking about Las Vegas for the entire 30 minutes, it's going to keep them in there.
Ooh, I mean, it all makes sense. So if people want to check out the podcast, where can they do that, by the way?
Everywhere.
Yay, all the places.
Yeah, everywhere. Every place you can listen to a podcast: Google, Spotify, iHeart, Apple. We have a website where you can find all that, and it's vegas-revealed.com. Vegas-revealed.com. And really any podcast platform, you can find us.
Awesome. And then what about if people want to work with you guys for Insightful Media? They want to reach out. Where can they find you there? And I know we also have a ton of links below this video too, so you can click those.
Yes. So we have our main website, insightfulmediaco.com. And then if you look up Insightful Media on YouTube, you'll see samples of video projects that we've worked on. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff connected to both Insightful Media and Vegas Revealed. So whatever social platform you're on, just search for Insightful Media or Vegas Revealed, and we'll be there.
Yes.
Easy. You guys have taken over. And I always like to end these with just a little positivity. I know we've talked about lots of good things, but what is something for each of you that you're celebrating right now, either business or personal? Could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Sean,
go ahead, Dayna.
We're like, I need a minute. Well, listen, I'm celebrating having a new, lifestyle. Really, for me, it has been a whole new world to be able to, do things within my life during the week and not always depend on that Saturday and Sunday. Really, for me, it used to be because Friday you'd get home, Friday night and Saturday, and that was it. And then you were back onto your other schedule. But just being able to have more of a life and get exercise in there and get errands in there and have a social life and then have a work life and enjoy it and feel rested and clear. I feel like celebrating that is huge. And then also for the business, celebrating, our most profitable year this year. We've really, really grown from the year before. It was 2020 was tough. The next year was up a little, but this year we have really taken a major jump, and we're super proud of. We're calm now, like we're okay. We're good. We're making money. We're realizing, what we do and our value, and sticking to it. And we're calm. There were months of panic. Like, is this going to work? And we thought it would, but you got to hang in there. But now we kind of know it's going to work. So for me, having that confidence feels really good. I'm definitely celebrating that.
Ooh,
yeah.
amazing.
And I think kind of piggybacking off of that point, I think I'm celebrating the dedication that we've each put into the projects that we've launched, and that we're now celebrating the success of all the hard work that we've been putting in as we start our 4th year of all of these endeavors. And, as Dayna mentioned, there were times when we were like, so are we going to need to pick up part-time jobs here along the way?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be like something that can actually sustain us? And fortunately, it has been something that has sustained us. So we're very optimistic about how the future looks for us as individuals and as business partners.
Amazing. Well, congrats, you guys. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here on the live stream. It was fun to, have you on and have this be,
Yeah.
not a morning newscast. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll stay in touch. And again, if you guys want to reach out to Sean or Dayna, go to the millions of links below this
Yeah.
video and click them all.
Abby, Andy, thank you both so much. We appreciate the time.
It's been a pleasure.
So have
Yeah.
a great Friday, everybody.
All right. You too. Enjoy Boston, Andy.
Oh yeah, anybody at the Massachusetts Avenue WeWork in Cambridge, I'm sorry about the noise. I've seen all the people walk in the background. Also, before we head out, I have a confession for you guys. I've never been to Las Vegas, but I'm coming next year for the
I
Formula
didn't
1
know
race.
that.
Oh, you're coming for the
Okay.
Formula One race?
Yeah, I'll be broke
Yeah.
afterwards, but I'll come see you.
Okay. Well, if you want,
I think there's a condo that we know of that you can rent for $100,000 a night.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
Amazing. I'll be there too.
I'll give you I'll give you a discount.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Hopefully
Have a
we'll
good
meet
Friday.
you. Thank you. Bye.